everyone. I want to really thank you all for being with us today. All of you have already completed part one of AI co-branding, which is the primer, where we covered key AI concepts, got all on the same page, and make sure we understand kind of how we got to where we are today and kind of the opportunity as it sits. You've also all seen the agreement, which has been co-designed very thoughtfully by the subcommittee of the working group and OpenEXO, which includes all the roles, responsibilities, the kind of the risk side, all of the terms, and including obviously the pricing, which is a very important part of this because it is a commercial opportunity as a partnership with OpenEXO. You then have also completed about a 1 hour walkthrough of the entire platform. That was led by Kevin. And if you haven't seen that, there's a recording for it. And what that is a very careful flow through each and every phase, day, step, and output that, sorry, I'm just muting people that I had some background. A very important walkthrough of all the steps so that you all know how to be a fantastic RM and where the consultant hat was also being worn as we go through the 15-day 3-week process, okay? Today's part of the training is on AI ready sales. Okay, now I don't expect this to take much more than about 20, 30 minutes. I don't think we need a full hour for it. But what I want to do is refer back now that you understand how it all works. You kind of understand all the ingredients. You also kind of understand what the end dish should look like and be served like, right? And we do the sales training after so that now you can reflect knowing all that and make sure that we are doing a very good job of presenting what it is and making sure we don't present what it isn't, and we can lead expectations really, really well, okay? And so for that, all of you should have already have received, and I'm gonna pull it up on my screen now, is pretty much what we call the main EXO and AI ready solutions overview. And I'm just pulling that up right here. And I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully all of you can see that, is that correct? Excellent, thank you. So this document here has been put together as a very robust piece of work. So it's not like a one-page sales teaser, right? What it is an opportunity that if you are working with someone and trying to explain to them the value, that you can highlight parts of it, but the goal is to leave it with them so they can kind of review it and answer all their questions and have a very detailed understanding of what they're getting into, what the value is. And this takes off the work of you really being a salesperson, and rather you're putting you in that seat of an RM, a relationship manager. Hey, it's a phenomenal product. It's being used widely, fabulous testimonials. Let me show you a little bit of the value that it delivers. It's a value-driven kind of piece, okay? It does very clearly name EXO and AI Ready. And the reason we're doing that is obviously the company is OpenEXO that you're co-branded partnering with. It is powered by us, and it includes the critical frameworks, systems, and processes of the OpenEXO platform that are needed in order to be able to not just know how to be AI ready, but actually to go forward and actually start implementing after this any of the things that you've decided to do or any use cases to do it in a way that you have the highest possible chance of success. Okay, so we bind in the EXO. There is a page which is what is it and who are we? People can read it at their own leisure, but basically we're the world's leader in this, and we've designed it in a framework that gives you 4 different easy ways to do it. But I'm here to talk to you about the 15-day guided organizational sprint. But the reason we share it this way is it might be that one of these people decide they want to do a workshop or something else. In that case, you can kind of follow that thread with them because you're wearing a sales hat, and you could sell a workshop, which could be also incredibly lucrative as well for you as an introducer, okay? Although you wouldn't actually be a relationship manager consultant in that, you could still earn a great 10% introduction fee for a workshop. So we do expose all 4 ways, so you also can kind of guide them as to kind of experience they want. And remember as well, it's kind of fun to say, hey, by the way, this is delivered as a workshop, virtual or in person. So if any of you are attending like a big event, let me know if you'd like to host a workshop at the event. If you're part of a community, you think this would be valuable for, you're effectively creating a sales force for yourself by teasing it in at that stage. Okay. We have the welcome letter by the first global AI officer who's an AI. And if they want to learn more about this amazing kind of Alan Turing, they can actually find it once they engage with us, because it's one of the AIs that we make available to them as they're going through the process. They can actually chat with Alan. So this is just Alan's welcome. But really, this is the starting point. And again, I go to, there are 4 ways to consume it. And I zoom in typically here, and I say, if you look across the horizontal axis, we have structures for individuals and leaders, teams and organizations. And if you go up the vertical axis, the amount of investment time that you would need to put into it to get the outcome you want. And so we talk quickly, there are some workshops at the bottom. We do have a micro school that's been launched in partnership with Genius Group, who is a New York Stock Exchange listed global partner that we are merging with globally. But what we're really here to talk about with today is this 15-day guided sprint. And the reason we show it this way is that in the middle, you can see the kinds of components that are involved in what we call AI Ready. So I scroll down then to the process flow. And this is kind of where I say, if you look down the middle here, you see what looks a little bit like a DNA thread, a double helix. And it is a process sequence flow, where in the background, in these little hashed areas, these are our AI agents and systems that are working to support each and every step. One of the things that is really amazing about the process is not only is it mostly automated, but not fully automated, because there will be absolutely humans involved in all the main meetings, and one of our consultants to help with the discovery of your learning. We also have AI agents in the background that can do extraordinary work to help deliver even more valuable insights for you. And it starts with this kind of step 1 and goes through to step 6. Okay. Usually takes 3 weeks or 15 working days to go through it. We take a team of 5 of you through it, usually someone in the C-suite and 4 other people. I call that the 5-layer cake, but that would be someone in the C-suite, then someone maybe in marketing, someone maybe in sales, someone maybe in finance and legal, and someone maybe in operations and risk, right? So you've got kind of a nice spread of the company designed for 5 people to go through. And it anticipates that those 5 people will spend about 20 hours total, or about 4 hours each, over that period of 3 weeks. So the design, therefore, is that it's got collaborative parts where you can work together. It's not a huge amount of your time, but it's an appropriate amount of your time. Now, if you don't think you can commit 4 hours over 3 weeks to help change the future of your company, then you shouldn't be using this product. Okay? But if you can, what we can tell you is that the outputs have been extraordinary. So let's dive in for a second what it's composed of. You can see in step 1, we do something called an EXO survey and quotient. In step 2, we do an assessment quiz. Step 1 and 2 are part of our first week. And in that slice of the first week, we kind of call that kind of preparation and launch stage. We're getting to know you. There's actually an intake form we do as well. We learn so much about you, and you learn enough about yourself that we put in a position that we can then move to step 3 and 4 in the second week. What do those 2 first week events look like? Well, we've given them to you in detail. In stage 1, you do what's called the EXO survey and quotient. Here's an example of what it does. Here's actually an example of the output that you get, which is actually a 20-page analysis of how your organization meets up to the requirements of being an EXO, an exponential organization. And it actually measures you on your massive transformative process, which is kind of the overarching kind of directionality and commitment that your organization makes. And then on the 10 core attributes, internal and external, that drive organizations to extraordinary outcomes. Okay. And for any of you that want to know why you would be an EXO, I can scroll down a little bit, and we have this diagram here of the model. This is at MTP at the top, and these are an example of the ideas or the 5 internal characteristics: interface, dashboard, experiment, autonomy, and social tech. And the 5 external attributes: stuff and demand, community, crowd, algorithms, leverage assets, and engagement. And epitomes of organizations that really demonstrate extraordinary examples of doing that well. And obviously on the right-hand side, here's algorithms or AI, which is kind of what we're doing with AI Ready. And the reason companies do this is they generate these outcomes. Massively improved shareholder returns, much higher profitability, revenue growth, and better asset utilization. And we have testimonials from all kinds of organizations that have been through it. I'll just focus on this one right now from Atoria Rossetti, the head of Save the Children. We just completed an AI Ready with them a couple of weeks back, and they had an extraordinary level of output and impact, and we can actually share more information if you wish to from them. So if I scroll back up now that you know what an EXO is, you can see that that first step is really getting to know the model and understanding its impact and how you relativistically score. The second part of that first week is AI Ready team assessment. For this one, all 5 of your members take it separately. You don't collude, and what you do is you get a separate view of your organization, and what you're actually going to do is we will give you a radar plot like this with all 5 laid over top of each other. And it'll give you insights as to the differentiation of how you each view your organization over the 5 core areas of strategy, data and technology, people and culture, implementation, compliance, risk, and ethics. You also get a 10-page analysis report. So that first week is basically doing your EXO survey and a team assessment quiz, and us learning about you and you learning more about yourselves and prepping for week 2. Okay. Week 2 is the AI Ready diagnostic audit. This is a long format audit and diagnostic of your organization. Your team collaboratively produces the answers for this, and it is something that when it is completed, we can dive into and provide you a report that gives you these kinds of details on your organization. We are now learning much more about you as you learn much more about yourself. The reason we do this now is a preparatory stage to then also be complemented by you using our agents and tools. So in the first week, we give you access to our platform, and there are platforms there that include our EXO chatbot, our virtual book. They include our exponential technologies course with an entire chapter on AI. It also includes a bunch of virtual AIs on our EXO.team framework, one of which you saw was Alan Turing. And what we love is during this phase, as you're learning more about yourself, you choose to start using these to start actually helping you in your progress with the AI. You now have a virtual suite of tools. In fact, there's actually something else as well by one of our partners called FatBrain, which if you want to opt into, would actually look at your Salesforce or your QuickBooks or your Shopify and actually help you discover your own data. So this is kind of the week to play and use tools, and also it's the week to make sure that we've done a deep diagnostic on you. When week 2 completes, there is a check-in meeting with your consultant where they're actually going to look at these results, understand them a bit better, and prepare you for the final week, which is use case. The final week, week 3, is use case ranking. We surface with you about 100 use cases spread across all the different segments of the organization: marketing, customer, sales, operations, efficiency. And the goal of that is as you go through them, you will select whether or not you're not interested, and it will be flagged as not for me, back burner, maybe, but not right now, or top use case, something I'm very excited about, and I want to put at the front of the queue. And for any top use case, you will actually map them on a grid. And it allows us to produce for you 2 heat maps. One of the heat maps is based on investment needed versus business impact. Obviously, the lower investment needed, the higher the impact. Those are kind of your gold medal winners. And the second grid or heat map is on internal readiness and external urgency. We take, excuse me, we take your outputs and we map them for you. And that forms part of the final meeting and outcomes report, where you have a deep diagnostic output and assessment of your readiness, including things like a SWOT analysis, a review against the EXO model, and next steps that you can take, which help build a roadmap for you for where to go, in what order, and where you're going to get the most value the quickest. This model of the AI Ready, as you can see, really builds on each step, so at the end, you are then in position to go out and decide where to go next and in what order. Okay. There's a little bit about the people involved in the guide and the process in this document, the teams involved supporting it, the model as we saw, their testimonials. There's an overview of why become an EXO. And for those of you that don't know much, there's 2 amazing use cases at the end that give examples of the kinds of impact that people have had when they work through the EXO model and apply to attributes like algorithms and AI. So with that, hopefully you've got a really good idea of the flow, the process, and the outcomes. Now the document is now in your inbox. And what I'd love you to be able to do is refer to it on your own with any questions you have. For the engineers in you, you will totally get each and every step. But the important thing we want to do is allow you to now think, how do I then take this next step? And when does it fit for me? What I want to let you know is that there is a bit of a lineup forming right now. And so as soon as you've got an indication that you want to start, make sure we know and we can speak to the team and try and get you into the next available slot. Okay. Remember, it takes about 3 weeks, but it's about only 20 hours or 4 hours per person based on the 5 people that go through. Pricing. Just want to quickly give you a high level on the pricing because it's an interesting story and it's kind of meaningful because us as a community, we actually originally designed this for our own community. We didn't actually think it was going to be an external sales product. We had members of our community going, I'm not AI ready. How do we do it? And we kind of tried to figure out a flow to help them. And when we did that, we just picked a price of 10K to do it because it was kind of an internal community price. What's happened since is we've actually tested that price externally in the marketplace. We've asked many organizations about what would they pay without knowing the price for the kind of value they got at the end. And what we keep hearing in numbers between about 35 and 50K. But we've decided not to sell it in the open market at 35 to 50K. We decided to hold it at 10K. And the reason, if you want to know, is because we're really a community builder. And we believe this is one of the best ways to give more value than you can imagine to anyone that isn't yet part of our community, to get an idea of the value of our community and to be able to then engage and work with all of our community members, including the several hundred people in our working group, who's one of the most thriving and best examples of one of our working groups in the organization. So with that, I'll open up to any Q&A, but I just wanted to make sure you had a really good run through of how AI Ready works, the kind of value it delivers, and what kind of your roles are with regards to it. Are there any questions? All right, thumbs up on that. It's recorded, you've got it as a delivery. I'm not saying you have to do that perfectly, but having done that now, you can imagine enough times, I've tweaked it enough times to try and tell the story. If you send the document afterwards, literally you're almost at PayLink. Like there's not much more they're going to need to know. And by the way, if they do, you're going to be like, listen, it's not a consultancy. Why don't we run the product and then we can you kind of want to, don't get into the over delivering, over offering. It's really important that we don't, because there's so much value here. I mean, some people are paying 10K just to do a guided EXO quotient, right? So what we don't want to do is have people think, and if we try to offer anything else or we're actually going to diminish the value of the product even further, which we don't want to do. Okay. There are no discounts. There are no deals. There are no side hustles. It's a one price fits all. We're excited to get started. Okay. If people ask about any kind of valuable outcome, I usually give 2 examples. One, Atorian Save the Children. We have video testimonials on the main page about their output and how much they loved it, how powerful they thought it was. But another one quick example I can just give you is we're working with a dental group, about $8 to $10 million of high-end revenue, top-line revenue. And the dental group didn't even get through the AI assessment quiz, week 1, until they realized they were spending $10,000 a month in search engine optimization, outbound paid for Google AdWords. And they hadn't even got through week 1 when they realized that they didn't need to do that anymore, already with what they're learning about their business and where we're going, before even they went to the use case. By the end of week 3, they'd already prioritized that as changing how they're currently buying AdWords to using an AI to do it. And they'd already identified about $110,000 of savings before they'd even finished the product. So to give you an idea, those are the kinds of discoveries that we love. But what we don't want people to come in is to come in and think they have to solve one problem. We want them to be open, because we're finding that many people go through are discovering incredible use cases as part of the process. Okay. So that's another way I describe it if people are looking for any validation or kind of ROI. That's a really good example of ROI. It paid the entire thing 10x before they were even done. Okay. I'll pause there. Any questions? I will go around the horn again. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Perry.
Great job. That was a good way of putting that. Like you said, it's not necessarily a sales pitch. It's just walking them through what are you looking at, what are you getting, and watch this thing do. And then at the end, the value add is tremendous too. So
Okay,
enjoyed
thank
that.
you. Mr. Williams, any questions for you?
He's got my middle name.
How long will they have access to the platform and tools?
Sorry, ask the question again.
So we're going to give them access to the tools, to the platform, and how long
They're
will
going to
that-
get five. They're going to get 5 licenses, 1 Pro and 4 Premium
Mhm.
for our platform, and they're going to get 5 licenses for EXO.team.
Okay. And for how long would that license last? A year or what's the?
No, Kevin, I think they're 90-day licenses, right? And then they have the ability to renew them. They're 90 days.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Steve, any questions?
No question.
Thank you. Dr. Scott, any questions?
None at the moment. That was excellent job, Stuart. I'm really
Great, thank you.
It's really great. Okay.
Great. All right. So, Yaroslav, I just want to thank you for joining. I know you've had a crazy busy day. Fortunately, these weren't sessions that you actually needed to leave yourself. But maybe if you have the ability to just pop on quickly and say hi to everyone, you can let them know what's coming up next. Because obviously, now that we've concluded the AI primer, this group didn't have to do it, but they would have done it in regular business. 2, the walkthrough done by Kevin and the recording of that. 3, now sales. The next thing is 4 and 5. And maybe if you just have a minute, I think we might not be doing the 5 part, but if you could just clarify your expectation as kind of the head of our systems and training side of our business, I'd love to just make sure you're clear on that. And then also, if you could share, we do have about 7 people that would have liked to have attended today, but could not, of the launch group. So what are your expectations for them to not have just watched it, but to feel comfortable enough to be able to, with you, say that they've certified, if you will, a co-brand? So if I could pass it over to you, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you very much, Stuart, and greetings to everybody. I think I know most of you, but maybe Steve and Sai, I think we have maybe interacted somewhere, but maybe not deeply, but very nice to, I mean, I do remember your faces, just I think we haven't chatted too much. So great to be here. I am Yaroslav, I'm Chief Learning Officer, and I've been supporting design of this first pilot of the certification. And so what is remaining is I'll be creating a video. Actually, I've been working on this. So the idea is, now that you know the product and you also know about the sales, I also want to give you some tips from, you know, kind of the last 5-6 years of EXO, but also from my learning career about how to kind of handle the people side of this engagement, right? So you have the technical side of the engagement, but obviously there is a lot of people dynamics involved. You'll be coming across multiple stakeholders from the client organization. There'll be dynamics going on between them. They might have individually certain maybe mindset limiting beliefs to overcome and look into. As a group, they might have some things, and you'll be exposed to all of that, right? So as you're guiding them through a fairly technical kind of strategic process, there'll also be human dynamics. So I'll be sharing some ideas about how you can handle these dynamics and how you can be equipped also from the people side. For example, on our training and certification programs for the EXO Sprint, we have always had a specific session that handled the people dynamics of being an EXO Sprint coach. So I'll be drawing on that material and also my experiences, and I'll be sending you all a video around that. Now, the final piece, the session 5, the idea is that's maybe more for the future, because you guys have been working quite closely with Stuart and Kevin in terms of designing all of this. But just for reference, in the future, we want to have the session 1, which is basically some very basic education about AI, because we might over time be getting people that might be at different levels in terms of AI. So I think it's very important that they all know some key concepts. And we were actually looking about the AI working group developing that curriculum or that piece. And at the end, the idea is that give people some kind of a case study, and they basically present back how they would approach a specific client. So imagine we basically outline, you're working with a small and medium business. They have about 40 employees. They've been 5 years in business. They're currently scaling up. They work, maybe they are a supplier for the automotive sector, and they want to assess their AI readiness. What would be some key things that you would do before, during, and after to help to make this a success? Something like this. And then every kind of person going through this will need to prepare their answer, almost like a presentation of how I would actually prepare and deal with a specific client, right? Because it's not just guiding people through the process, but also making some research about the industry and learning about that. And basically, we want to see from them not only that they could follow the 4 previous sessions, but we want to see them present. We want to see how they're making sense of things, how they would prepare themselves, how they carry themselves as a consultant and coach. We want to see all of these things before we give the certification stamp. Now, again, in your case, we won't do that because you've been exposed enough, but in the future, the session number 5 will be that. So I think, Stuart, that's summarizing basically the overall process and also what people in this group can wait for, which is the video, which I'll be sending later on throughout this week, latest by Monday. And then in terms of expectation, I think it's very important that we break it down into those 3 sessions that we want everybody to go through, that we have these videos. So we'll have video from me and then 2 videos from today. We then need to, and probably we'll just rely on Ona's word, for this initial group, but everybody needs to watch these specific videos. And in terms of kind of confirming, I mean, one way to do it would be to speak one-to-one, but maybe we can actually, I don't like this dog food thing, but we can do that, and maybe we can design a quiz using an AI tool, and we can kind of check understanding
Yeah.
of some key concepts covered in those 3
Maybe.
videos. So maybe I can do something like that, and then we can
Yeah.
have that as a kind of a final sign-off quiz.
Maybe one idea, Yaroslav, and I just want to share this with you, Kevin. Maybe what we can do is the onboarding call, they're going to watch one, do one, teach one, and then the accelerate call, they're going to watch one, do one, teach one.
Oh, great. Okay.
The assessment call is also watch one, do one, teach one, as is the final outcomes. But I don't know if ever there will be a final outcomes call without you on board, Kevin. I think you're always going to be in the final call because it's a really, really important call. However, I know he got kicked out. He's been reinvited to rejoin. I can just see the note. I'm trying to get him to rejoin, but I haven't seen the pump up yet. So, but we can send the recording. Thank you, Jason. But I think what I'd like to do, and in other trainings I've done, I'd like to make a suggestion is, there is a 30-minute accelerate call to be done where you're kind of reviewing, EXO, you're reviewing the quiz, and then you're kind of getting them ready for the diagnostic. And then there is another 30-minute plan call where you're reviewing the diagnostic and getting ready for use case. In an ideal world, what I'd love to do is create a folder where we drop into that folder the documents you would need for that call. And ideally, each one of you would prepare a Loom or whatever, and you'd actually do a practice call. You'd actually do like, welcome everyone, here's what, and you'd actually go through about a practice 25-minute of that call. I'd recommend we do it for 2 reasons. One is, almost certainly the first time you do it, you're going to improve dramatically by number 2. So you probably don't want your first time to be live, right? Secondly, if you do that, it's an opportunity, you could submit it, and Yaroslav or someone could give you some pointers, what we saw that might improve your delivery. So that's an investment in you. So we could call that certification, but I would actually think it would be a great value to both you and us as we continue to improve, to actually have people submit kind of a pro forma accelerate call and assessment call, because they're then going to know the materials, Kevin, that they're going to be getting, right? Because we can give them all a sample of what the report is they're going to review in EXO, a quiz. They know what they're setting up for, and they can get their cadence right and make sure they do it in 20, 25 minutes. Then for the diagnosis, we can give them the diagnostic report as an example, right, a gamma. They'll know what they typically work with, what they have to report, and what they have to get ready for use case. Whether or not we have to do a practice outcomes call, the final one, I think we can do those live together because you'll be on it, but it might be worthwhile them practicing the first 2. So Yaroslav, I'll just leave that as an idea, but there might be a way that people could just do one of those live recorded and then submit it. And that will show mastery of the process, knowing every step, understanding the EXO and AI, understanding the diagnostic, understanding how to explain the use case. It'll pretty much cover a mastery of subject matter as well. So that's just an idea of how we might actually certify, and that way each person submits to 2 mock meetings. What do people think about that as an idea?
And Stuart, just to clarify, because the meeting obviously has, it's a dialogue, right? There is another person. So how would they?
Yeah, but it's not a ton, to be honest. The accelerate call is you presenting the learnings from EXOQ survey, the learnings from the quiz, and prepping them for the next part. We could skip the Q&A, but what I'm saying, the main part of it
They'll do the
is really
presentation,
the presentation. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is, right? And if you look at the documents that Kevin's got that shared the agenda flow, the majority of that is, hi everyone, great to meet you. It's been fabulous. Here's what we got. Here's what we learned. Here's what I saw. Super exciting. Here's what else we learned. Fabulous. Here's a radar plot. Here's what I learned and can see in that. And let me get you ready for next week. Here's what you're going to do. Here's what it's going to look like. Blah, blah, blah. Like practicing that and doing each of those, I think would be shows mastery of the subject matter and also is a great dry run. That would be my suggestion, but I'm not mandating that. I'm actually asking, you know, Dr. Scott and, you know, Ms. Williams, Jason Perry, like, what do you think of that as a way? Because if this group does it, we should certainly probably do it with other groups that didn't do all the stuff we did. Like there needs to be a way, because if someone completely messes that up, I mean, really messes that up, we shouldn't be having them out there in the wild. I mean, there's got to be something more than just attending one of these, is my thought. So I open that to the floor as a question.
Fine with me. I have no problem with that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
doing trial runs and practice sessions are good for any kind of
Yes.
sales.
And me
I
and
thought so.
Jake
Okay,
will do
great.
it ourselves together before we come to you, Stuart.
That's fine, because you know the saying is if you're pitching to raise capital, the worst thing you ever want to do is pitch your number one lead first, right? Because you haven't got your pitch down. So I would say it'd be great to do this, and it would actually help you have a better run with your first client, better outcomes. And so with that feedback, and I haven't had anyone say no to that in chat, I'd like to agree, Yaroslav, that that will be a requirement before you're fully certified to go forward, is that you submit a sample accelerate and a sample assessment, okay? A sample onboarding call, I'm not overly fussed about, but we could do it, but because it's watch one, do, teach one, I don't think people have to submit a sample onboarding call. You're pretty much saying, welcome, you got to do an intake, do a quiz, make sure you got 5 people, but do people want to do a sample onboarding call as well? Or do you think it's just the middle two that matter?
Well, again, that kind of sets a standard so that everybody's familiar with it, so that it's done pretty well the same way and comfortable, so it's not their first time doing one, and makes it look a little less professional.
And by the way, you never get a second chance to set a first impression, right?
Right.
Okay, now that can be done in 15 minutes. Remember, originally with a 15-minute call, we've made it 30 if you need it for anything else. But based on the feedback I've just heard, I think we do a sample onboarding call as well. So there's 3 samples that you submit to evidence you completely understand what that section does, what's included, and how to kind of lead them. We can support you if there's any feedback loops on it. And then after that, I think we have a certification process that you can add to yours, Yaroslav. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
We lost you, Yaroslav.
We lost you, Yaroslav.
Building a snowman, he's frozen.
Yeah,
and
thing
feedback
is,
on that. I mean, that's
who's
quite a
going to-
time intensive.
Yeah, who's going to review all those things?
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's like a kind of a centralized, you know, it's quite a lot to give feedback on 1.5 hour of presentation,
No.
like to make
Sorry.
it meaningful. So, I think
Go ahead, Yaroslav.
Yeah.
I was actually proposing that they pair up. That's what I'd heard. They pair up. I was proposing that they pair up and do that with each other.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that makes
Okay.
sense then. Yeah.
And then if there are any really good versions, we can put them in the library of a fabulous, like if let's imagine Jason kills his onboarding call, like flawless, and Dr. Scott and his buddies, like, hey, nothing I can add. That was immaculate. We can drop that in the drive as an example of a great one. And then later, maybe Sai and Maria paired up, and Sai killed his accelerate call. We drop that in, you know? So I think this group should co-support. I wasn't actually saying that we need to adjudicate every one of these. We don't have the time to do that. But I think this group could co-support itself in part of its training as mentor pairs. So that's what I would suggest. Sorry, I thought that's what I heard.
Yeah, I think I'll go with, you know, what Jason said. I think we should try it on the first one. I'm still thinking that I think what we want to check is, can people present well? Can they deal well with certain context of a client, and can they land all the key pieces of the program, right? So I do think that if we create almost like a case study company, and we even like pre-fill the diagnostic survey, we pre-fill, like we almost give all of the data, and we basically give it to a person and say, make me a half-an-hour video. How would you actually run an AI ready for this client? It includes the onboarding call. This is the things I would hit. This is what I would mention. This is what I would do in the diagnostic. I think that kind of a half-an-hour summary of the whole thing in relation to the case study client might be an efficient way to kind of hit many birds with one stone. But maybe for this first one, let's just do what you suggested, Stuart, and see how that goes. Maybe it's going to work just fine.
Yeah. And what I love is if we get a couple of shining examples, we can drop them into our training drive, and that just help everyone, right? And we're all, again, leaning in to help do this better, right? And then if you want, you could reflect on one of those. You guys have just got a sales training video for me, right? We just did it today. It's going to go into that drive. So if any of you need to tweak your approach, you can go to that. And so I think as we do any of these, and remember, Kevin will, as we go live, and you didn't mention it, Kevin, but I just want to remind people, every one of these videos will be, every one of the Zoom calls will be done on Fathom on Zoom, okay? And so when Kevin's on as OM, which he is in every call, Kevin's Fathom will be running, and those transcripts are also going into the agent to help the agent learn about what we're doing. So we will have that. And so the good news is, if we crush one of the calls, we've got that. We've actually got that for training material already, right? Internal only. So we're going to be building some great best examples of doing it well. And then that'll make it easier and easier for people to go, oh, I'd like to see how, the captain did his assessment call. Oh, I'd love to see how Jason did one of his. And that's the ability for us to kind of learn from each other. And I think we should be open to that as a launch group, right? Yeah. As a way to kind of co-train and co-support each other. Okay.
Yes.
Obviously, that person would give permission for their video to be used. We won't share that without someone going, yes, but I do think that that's a way that we can help each other kind of crowdsource best practice. Okay. All right. I'm aware we have 7 minutes left. Yaroslav, I want to thank you for jumping in. I just want to be clear. We're not doing session 5, but there's one more session this group will do with you. Is that correct?
No, it will be a video that I will film and send to everybody. And then I think, Stuart, we can just summarize the rest of the process. We want everybody to watch all the videos, including mine. Then we want everybody to do this presentation to pair up. So I think we can summarize this for people and send an email to everybody who couldn't attend as well. So it's all clear what needs to get done for this pilot group to complete.
So what I'd like to ask is the following, and I just want to make my ask clear for all of you on the call and anyone watching, is I am actually heading off office Saturday morning early with my family for my first vacation in a very long time. So I don't want to be a dependency in the completion of this for any of you. There's no reason we can't get this done and get you live and running. And so Kevin is kindly going to take over any of the kind of relationship requirements now. Yaroslav is on the training side. It's clear what our requirements are, right? There's going to be that additional video. You've all got the agreement. The agreement's been approved. You would need to obviously sign that and get that back to us as part of the process, right? Because that's what we've all agreed. And as soon as you have completed your remaining steps and we've got the agreement, you've got the materials, you are good to go. And so please don't feel that you need to wait for a clearance from me on this one. I don't want to be that dependency to slow you down if you want to march ahead sooner than my return, okay? Jason Perry, a vacation, I actually don't know, but I've been told they exist. And at OpenEXO, some of us once in a while get to take some time. So I'm going to go and rediscover the definition. I'm kidding. I'm going to Colombia actually with the family. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. So is that clear in terms of expectation? So I'm going to take myself out of the dependency loop. Okay. Mm-hmm. You've got these training materials. We've got the videos. We've got a repository. We've got a process. We've got an agreement. We've got a simplified approach to get you all live. We are now ready to roll with all of you as needed as soon as you complete to be live with AI Ready as a partner. Okay.
Who do we return the co-branding agreement to you, or give it to Kevin? If you
I would send it to me, CC Kevin, and then Kevin, you'll just create a repository, CC Kent if needed. I think Kent might have to sign them if I'm not away, so maybe we just get them to Kent. But we will do the admin back end for that. As long as you've copied us, we'll make sure we get them across. If you get it in the next day or so, I'll still be here, but I just want to make sure that you have a process so we don't slow you down or let you down, okay?
Okay.
All right, team. So with that said, I think I'm going to put a pin in it. This has been fantastic. I just want to say this comes to the culmination with the exception of the video from Yaroslav and getting the last agreement in and you guys reviewing. I can't tell you how appreciative I am for how you've all been doing. So for people like Ben, who's going to be looking at this afterwards, for other people that have been on the process, Maria, who's not on, Priya, who's joined and done so much, Chris Houston, listen, we would not be here today had it not been for how well and how heavily and thoughtfully you've all leaned in to make this process great. I'm really excited with where we've got it. And I know it took maybe a week or two, a little longer than I'd originally hoped, but as you can see from what Kevin shared with you today and from the sales material and the sales training, we've got this now dialed in, right? And all that means it's over to you now to go forward and conquer and enjoy being able to use it as well. So on behalf of me and OpenExO, thank you for leaning in on all the work you've done. I really feel each of you in the product. And I just want to thank you for that. Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
If there's nothing else, Kevin, we will do a turn on this recording and make sure we've got maybe broken into 2 pieces, and we'll do something to kind of figure that out. So we've got a training for 2 and a training for 3, and we will then share that back to all of you as soon as we can edit those out. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Cheers, cheers.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right, cheers, take care.
See you in
Bye.
Cartagena.
You got it.
See you. Enjoy your vacation.
Bye.